Today on Here for the Right Reasons, Ashley, I, and Jared respond to their Bachelor in Paradise backlash.
I understand why people are pissed off. Like, we apparently got double the amount of screen time than anybody else on that Monday's episode. Even when I was watching it, I was like, we're on screen again?
Norris talks about his connection with Brittany.
Well, she's got that smile. Obviously, she's beautiful. And just like talking with her, it was so easy talking with her. And, the first night I talked with her for hours.
Clare Crawley gives us all the details on her engagement.
He brings so much calmness to me and so much security and is always reassuring and loving.
Plus, Leslie Murphy gets married, Kelly and Peter are Instagram official, and we break down all the highs and lows from Bachelor in Paradise. We've got that plus so much more on today's Here for the Right Reasons. Hey guys, Christina Garibaldi here with Us Weekly Deputy Editor Sarah Heron. Welcome to, I don't even know what week we're in. Like, it feels like it's been a year.
Of Paradise? I have no idea.
No idea.
I feel like we've been there forever, but also nothing has happened, but also everything has happened. I feel like I always say that. You and I have both been in BravoCon land for the last couple days, but you reading that list at the top, I guess there's been a lot of news, more than I realized.
Right. There has been a lot of news. There's a lot to get to. So let's just dive right into it, get right into it. So after getting engaged earlier this month, Clare Crawley, she got honest about the ups and downs that led to her fiance, Ryan Dawkins, and gave us a little bit of how the engagement went down. Take a look.
And he even said, one of the things he said to me, he was like, I really want, I'm excited one day for you to be my wife. And I was like, I know, me too. Because we always talk about getting married. And then I was like, me too. And then he started getting a little teary, and I was teary because of the festival. And I'm like, are you crying because I'm crying? What's going on? And then he got down on my knee, and I was like, okay, this is why. He is different and more amazing than anything I've ever had. And do you have the time? Do you have the time I can talk about it? He brings so much calmness to me and so much security and is always reassuring and loving and just very consistent with how he loves me and doesn't make me question it or doubt it for a second. And loving him is just easy.
It seems like she's very happy.
Yeah, listen, we can say all we want about Clare and the timing and the quickness, but we don't know. We weren't there. And I like that it's kind of interesting to find like this love in such a dark time. And if he supported her through all of that, like, who's to say that this isn't 100% the real deal? Like, he met her at kind of a dark time, right? The end of all the Dale stuff. We know her mom has been sick. He's a dad, so he's obviously, has his own life experiences. So I'm, always rooting for Clare, whether she knows it or not.
Definitely. And I love that her and Benoit are still really good friends. He reached out after the engagement, sent her congrats. I love that. So yeah, it seems like hopefully she'll get her happy ending that she's always wanted.
Well, someone else who got a happy ending, Bachelor Leslie Murphy and Alex Kavanaugh are married. The pair tied the knot in Hawaii on October 14th after having to postpone their wedding due to the pandemic. They got engaged in February 2020. Oh, wow, right before the pandemic.
Right. And
announced the news via Instagram 2 days after the proposal in Manhattan Beach, California. 1 year later, they welcomed a baby girl named Nora. Oh, that's a cute name.
It's cute.
And now they're married. And my favorite part of this story was that Catherine and Sean Lowe were there. Obviously, Leslie, we met on Sean Lowe's season, and Catherine has always kind of said the first love story for her of the season was her and Leslie. They've always been tight. And it's just kind of fun that like her bachelor was there, like Sean Lowe in the flesh at her wedding.
Full circle moment. Yeah. And then Leslie also appeared on Winter Games. Remember, she had that relationship with Dean a while back. I totally forgot about that.
Got like wildly quick, and then ended very abruptly off. So there's stuff we don't know there.
Yeah, definitely stuff we don't know. But yeah, I totally forgot about that. But good for her. Beautiful, beautiful family. And it looks like a gorgeous wedding too. So
it could be bad about Hawaii.
What's that? Yeah, I wish I was in Hawaii right now, but no, I'm stuck in New Jersey. All right. Well, Peter Weber and Kelly Flanagan went Instagram official finally on October 14th, sharing a photo at Yankee Stadium with the caption "Home Run." This came 1 day after they attended the Global Lyme Alliance Gala on October 13th to support fundraising initiatives dedicated to fighting Lyme and other tick-borne diseases. Finally, this worst kept secret. So we knew that they were together, and now they're Instagram official.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me at all that like the red carpet moment was at this Lyme disease gala, because Kelly has obviously been very open about her battle with Lyme disease. And I think she's just like smart and savvy. And I think she knows like if she's going to like I bet she's apprehensive to confirm this just because of the people are going to have comments. You know what I mean? There was a lot said after this breakup and a lot said the first time they got together. And we know Bachelor Nation can be ruthless. So I'm sure in her smart Kelly way was like, hopefully some of this will bring up Lyme disease a little bit if people are going to talk about it, which it is. But I loved that her caption was like, who would have thought? I didn't. Because she was the first one to she didn't like go on a Peter shade tour by any means, but in any interview she did do in the year after they broke up, like I wouldn't say she said the fondest things.
Right.
So I think I can't wait to hear this story one day.
Yes.
About what happened. And Peter ended his podcast with Dustin. And I don't know if that was just because maybe they had a contract that was up or whatever, but part of me also thinks maybe it was so he didn't have to talk about it all the time.
Right. No,
and they want to give this like a real shot privately. I don't know.
Which I respect. I totally respect it. And I'm glad that they're kind of taking a step back and not talking about this too much in the public and really focusing on the relationship, which I don't feel like maybe they did the first time around. So good for them.
The first time around, they were hanging out immediately on like Bachelor Greatest Seasons Ever with Barb chanting Kelly's name.
Yes.
Remember that? Like lives rent free here. And Barb has also commented like, so happy for you to make her stance known because of course people are, always want to know what Barb Weber is thinking when it comes to Peter's decisions.
Of course. Well, good for them. Hopefully it works out this time around.
Oh, well, this was an interesting one. So on this season of Paradise, before we totally dive into it, Casey, remember Casey, he's, the 38-year-old millennial who was kind of on the season, kind of not. He, had his dramatic injury and exit this week. And he gave an update on Instagram. And he said that he's still recovering from the ankle injury he sustained while fainting in Paradise. He wrote 3 broken bones, 3 operations, 4 months later, 1 sad guy here. Just to be clear, this is my foot in a cast right now tonight. I haven't walked in over 4 months.
It's crazy. That's crazy.
What? His dramatic exit happened after he told Brittany that Pizza Pete accused her of going on BIP for clout after their disastrous one-on-one date. He then fainted and subsequently injured his ankle. It didn't seem that serious in the moment, but he was escorted away in an ambulance. Some viewers wondered whether he was exaggerating. The show kind of implied he was exaggerating. But now we know that he hasn't walked in 4 months. Oh my God.
That's insane. Because this just happened off camera kind of. And then all of a sudden we panned to him and then it was all about how he fainted and he's like, oh wait, my ankle. So I think a lot of people were like, wait, I'm not sure this is real, but I guess it was. And he really got seriously injured.
Yeah. And I think it was interesting. They were kind of saying he likes to get involved in drama, but he can't handle it. So he was, because he had a connection with Brittany early on, he kind of felt obligated maybe to tell her what Pizza Pete was saying, which that whole thing was just such a disaster. And then he fainted and the way he fell, everyone must have been so focused on the faint, like you said, that the ankle people didn't realize, but that's crazy.
That is crazy. It's really
what a waste of a trip for that guy.
I know, poor guy. All right. Well, speaking of waste of a trip, let's get into our Bachelor Nation talk. And I know that you caught up with Ashley and Jared, who talked about the Paradise backlash, right?
Yes. Oh, Ashley and Jared. Here's what they had to say about the internet maybe not loving their time on this season. I just wanted to start by asking you about your expectations kind of coming back to Paradise and what you were expecting, and then maybe if the reaction was what you were expecting.
I didn't know. Well, we had no expectations going to Paradise, so we got the phone call 3 weeks before, and they said, hey, listen, we want to bring you guys down, and we want you guys to have some quality time on the beach. And initially we were going to bring down Dawson, but it didn't work out because he didn't have a passport. It's a long story. So it actually worked out really well where we were able to go down there and enjoy our time together. Because as anybody knows, having a kid and then we just started a business, it really takes a lot of time and effort, and your relationship takes a back step, or at least the intimacy with it and the romance and just the dating portion of your life. So we had the opportunity to do that down in Paradise, and to do it in a place that means a lot to us was pretty cool. And the reaction, dude, it's people actually aren't. Actually, they've gotten a lot nicer. When we first were on Monday's episode, or when we got so much screen time.
When we had our date episode.
Yes.
Or it wasn't that bad because people were like, we like Ashley and Jared, but why are they on the screen so much? We don't want to see this. We want to see people dating. But at the same time, it kind of frustrates me because here's a little vent session. Listen, I love Bachelor family. I love the people who watch the show. They've given us more than I could possibly ever imagine. But they also love love. And the idea that love ends when 2 people meet on a show and then leave kind of boggles my mind Like love, as anybody who's been in a long-term relationship or who's married, who has kids, it evolves, it changes, it takes work. And the love that I have for Ashley is stronger now than it ever was when you guys saw on the TV, on like the show.
It's so sweet of him to say.
It's true. I mean, she's not only my wife, but she's the mother of my child. So we had the opportunity to go down there and really talk about things that we don't talk about on a day-to-day life, about like what she means to me, what Dawson means to me, what parenthood means to me, what our parents mean to us, and how they've imprinted what it means to create a family aspect. And so to express that on the show meant a lot to us. So for people to not, I understand why people are pissed off. Like, we apparently got double the amount of screen time than anybody else on that Monday's episode. Even when I was watching it, I was like, we're on screen again? Like, holy crap. And especially like how many, it was weird how I knew there was going to be a joke or kind of a running theme about us sleeping together in the boom boom room, but I never thought it was going to be like stretched out to the point it was.
I thought it might be, and I never really wanted that, but I'm like, whatever, whatever.
It's
we'll have fun with that, Ethan.
Did you laugh watching it back? Were you able to laugh?
Fun with it. You want us to talk about that? Okay, we'll talk about it.
I don't care. It's also a real thing. I mean, it's not as dramatic as it seems, but we always say that like nothing's as dramatic as it seems. But like, of course, there's, when you have a baby and a dog and a business and you're tired all the time, like, it's very hard to get like nights where you're like, all right, it's just about us.
There's just no way.
It's impossible, actually.
There's no way.
I mean, they felt it too. They were like, why am I on the screen so much?
Right. I think they were excited to be there. They clearly were down for the free vacation. And Jared's one of those people, when you interview him, he goes. He's talking in real life. They're very candid. Mm-hmm. You can tell they don't pre-plan answers. They're not trying to please anyone. Like, they kind of broke the wall a little bit talking about Michael A. and Danielle, which you can hear on the podcast this week. But yeah, I think he has a point. People always want what they can't have on the show. They want love stories. They're now giving them a love story, which even if it's in the form of Ashley and Jared, and they don't want to see it. But they also understand, people want to see the new people too. So you can't win. Can't blame them for taking the vacation, but also can't be surprised that people were like, what am I watching?
Of course, no. And it's not up to Ashley and Jared about the amount of screen time they get. They're just taking the vacation, taking the paycheck, and just showing up. So 100%. Producers must have liked what they saw.
Well, we also caught up with Tyler Norris, who made his first appearance, his debut on Paradise this week, and he talked about his kiss with Shanae and his connection with Britt.
So basically, I got asked out on the date by Shanae, and I had a prior, really, what I thought a great connection with Brittany. So. But, I just gotten there, I had to have an open mind. I got invited on a date, and obviously I'm not going to say no. Shanae's beautiful. Why not? Went on the date, had a great time with her. But you really find out if you're really into somebody after you get that opportunity and you go on a date with somebody else. Because at the end of that date, all I wanted to do was see Brittany. So.
Oh. And you do say in the promo for the next week that Brittany has that wow factor. So what was it that attracted you to Brittany?
Well, she's got that smile. Obviously, she's beautiful. And just talking with her, it was so easy talking with her. And, the first night I talked with her for hours, just got lost in conversation, and somebody you just meet. So when you have that connection with somebody that, you can talk about everything and anything, and it's just so easy. I think that's the wow factor to me.
Definitely. Yeah. It looks like you guys have some good chemistry. Can you tell us, I know you can't reveal if you're single or not, but can you tell us if you're happy right now?
I'm happy. I'm very happy.
Yeah, I'm excited to see his connection with Brittany next episode, the whole switch up thing. So let's get into the recap. So let's start with, first episode of the week. We talked a little bit about Pizza Peter. Thank God he's gone. It's such a waste of time.
Such a waste of time. He's like, I don't know. I don't even want to talk about him. I'm so over him.
I know. I'm so over him. Then let's just get right into what everybody was talking about on the first episode. Obviously, Danielle coming in and saving Michael A. Last minute before he was going to be sent home, and gave him a rose. And obviously producers knew exactly what they were doing. They had a little bit of a backstory. They've talked off camera, but they never met in person. It seems like this is like a perfect match.
Right. And it's the Michael A. of it all is fascinating to me because I think he obviously went into this season kind of as your grocery store Joe, your whoever, the person everyone's rooting for. And it's very rare that there's ever any split or backlash or anything with that person specifically. Mm-hmm. And Michael A., I think a lot of people, including Sierra, which we'll get to because I know it's in your social, and I have a Wells comment about this too, so we can circle back. But it's just a little, I don't know if it's just the way it aired or if Michael A. did kind of that bad job of saying something to soften the blow and make himself look better when he was talking to Sierra, because really he wasn't saying he wasn't ready to date because of his wife. He was saying he didn't want to date Sierra, and he didn't say that to her. He said that he didn't want to date. And Ashley and Jared said the same thing to me. They were like, we thought when it was happening originally that he said he was going to leave too, because he was like, oh, I'm overwhelmed, I can't do this. But then when they spoke to him on a conversation that didn't air, it was like, oh no, like it just wasn't a connection with Sierra. But we watched the conversation with Sierra, and he, from what I remember and what I took from the conversation, was saying that he was still like grieving and didn't like whatever. Like, I don't think he handled that right.
No, he definitely didn't handle that correctly. And people would have been rooting for the Danielle relationship a little bit more if he was just honest. And I think we said it too. I think Sierra maybe got ahead of herself a little bit, talking about like stepping in as that stepmom role like early on. And I think maybe it scared him a little bit, but he should have just been honest about that and be like, well, we're moving a little too fast. I don't see this in the future. Instead of just telling her I'm not ready to date. That just wasn't fair.
Yeah, and it's complicated, right? Because you come up with a connection with your first person. It's you totally don't owe them anything, but you do get their rose, and then it's time for you to start giving out a rose, and then you're like, I actually don't. It's complicated. There's no right way to do this, and I don't want to come down too hard on him. But it felt a little icky to me, and I didn't really understand how he kind of handled that. But the Danielle coming in when she did, it is what it is. Like, it's a show. They clearly didn't want Michael A. to leave, and also I think. Last season, I remember whoever it was, and this happens all the time, like they're like, oh, if that person just stayed one more week, this person would have showed up. Mm-hmm. So now the show's kind of rectifying that and bringing them in right at the right time, but then it comes off as fake. So I don't know if there's a right way to do it. It's all just very like fake. It
is very fake. But but it seems like the connection that they made was real. It seems like, they really, obviously they have a tragic past, but it seems like they connected on a bunch of different levels, and they're both ready to take this next step together, it seems like.
Yeah, I definitely think the connection is real. I think it makes sense. I think they both have gone through something both very sad, and both spoke about their experiences like very candidly, and that's amazing and probably was very difficult to do. I wonder if there's more to what they like, how much they spoke before this, even in just like a bonding way of from one member of Bachelor Nation to another who's like gone through loss, and now like the whole world is talking about it. Because it moved pretty quick for me.
It did. It moved really quick. It was like 0 to 100. So I feel like
they're cute. I'm sure they'll date through most of the time. I can't imagine they're going to start playing around on each other.
I don't think so either. I think this is one that we'll see through till the end. And then I guess they'll have to make a decision whether they want to continue on or not. But we finally got this switch up that we've been talking about for weeks. Do you think it lived up to the hype?
I think next week it will.
Yes.
Because I think there was a little too much. The way the women reacted was so dramatic. And part of me, like, they spent a little too much time on that for me, like dwelling on the sad, because it was like, again, you are doing this to them and they're like freaking out about it and like threatening to quit and like saying how miserable they are. And it's like, they showed me a little too much of like how much they feel tortured. Like I couldn't enjoy it.
Yes. No, I totally agree with you. I'm like, we get it. You're upset, but it's going to be fine. Like,
obviously they should have known they were going to get guys too. Like, Are they kidding?
Yeah. It's like, it's not, they're going to just put them in this. Well, I would have much rather stayed in the hotel that they're staying at. It looks gorgeous.
My favorite part was when they were like trying to do the like clearly kind of like Spawn where they have to talk about how great it is. Like, there's AC and there's a nice pool, but I'm sad. Like they tried to like do it, but they really just like wanted to die. That was my favorite part of the whole thing.
I love it so much. But yeah, so the guys some of the guys like Rodney, Jacob, Logan, they're like, all right, new girls, let's get right to it. But it seems like Rodney and Eliza definitely had the strongest connection, it seems like.
100%. And like, I never bought Rodney and Lace for a second.
No, definitely not.
And I feel bad for Lace because she clearly did. Mm-hmm. And you have someone like Genevieve and Lace, like they're and Jill, all three of them are also definitely like making it worse because they're talking to each other. They're getting worked up about it. They can't help it. And I do think what an interesting point is the fact that the other girls got to come in like glam, fresh, whatever. Because when you talk about shows like Love Island and shows that do this, they have like full glam stations and they have a villa plus an outside. Like that is true. So that I do understand. They're probably feeling insecure. They've been living on this beach for over a week. They've already gone through ups and downs. So to see them come in fresh faced and bushy tailed, I do get that part. So I understand. I don't want to whatever. But my biggest takeaway was Johnny and Victoria, at least so far, being pretty confident in the other one and not freaking out. I was like, I didn't know they were that strong.
Yeah, that's the one thing we always have an issue with Paradise. It's like we don't see that these strong connections forming. Like I totally forgot that Victoria and Johnny were even there.
Yeah.
So it's like we need to see a little bit of a backstory about why they don't want to step out on each other at all. Like I need more from them. But yeah, no, that was interesting. Obviously, we knew that Brandon and Serena weren't going to do anything because they're basically going to get married. But yeah, poor Lace, bringing her back in at the end, just setting this poor girl up. Like, hasn't she been through enough?
I can't believe she ever came back, to be quite honest. I wonder if it was like her begging the producer to let her go, or if she was like, I'm going to leave unless she let, like, I just want to know what's happening with Rodney, or if they were like, this is going boring, like we need to shake it up. Like, I wonder what was the decision to send Lace in, because I think you could have sent Lace, Jill, or Genevieve and had any sort of chaotic response, or Shanae. Obviously Genevieve was going to be happy when she finds out Aaron's just chilling, which was a kind of a surprise to me.
Yeah, me too.
But it was interesting to see like Johnny, Aaron, and Brandon kind of sitting there, like keeping their hands to themselves, just talking to each other, and all the girls like crying about what could happen, and them doing like synchronized dance routines.
So weird. And then Shanae having, a date with Tyler. Seems like they have a bit of a connection, but then obviously Jill put the end to that.
Yes, and he clearly likes Brittany. I'm obsessed with Brittany. I think she's fascinating, and I like that she's had such an arc, and we've seen her kind of go down a couple different roads, and that's like what Paradise is supposed to be like. She's not like hurting anyone's feelings, but like exploring connections. They're not getting too deep. I think her and Tyler will be interesting, and I think that it will also be interesting to see how Andrew handles that, because at first he was definitely not feeling Jasenia and seemed like he wanted to stick it out with Brittany, but then Jasenia wore him down, and they had that, like, I think trying to recreate a rom-com moment in the shower in the rain. Weird moment. But I'm interested to see if there's going to be like love lost there, or if they're both going to be okay with just moving on, because they both are kind of picking people, but were feeling how they left. So that could be a messy, fun one to watch. Then
Logan and Shanae,
Shanae's a hypocrite. She has been all season. So is Logan. They're just hypocrites walking around.
It'll be very interesting to see what happens when they all come together. All right, let's get into our social spotlight of the week. Mine went to Sierra. She tweeted after the whole Michael A. Danielle thing. She said, I feel highly disrespected. I'm going to go meditate. I don't blame her. I would as well.
Yeah, I think good for her. She said #convenient, which is fair. It's no secret that this show plays favorites, and that's fine. It sucks for the people that doesn't pick, so I don't blame them for getting, feeling like not feeling special or feeling like they got screwed. I totally get it. So good for her. Something that Wells said about the Michael A. Danielle thing that I thought was interesting is somebody tweeted, low-key think that Wells Adams is playing matchmaker, and I love it. And he said, oh, it wasn't low-key. They cut it. But I told Michael A. I had someone for him, and then walked up the steps of Paradise, welcomed Danielle, and told her to go find Michael. Somebody said, I knew this was all you, and I was pissed they cut this moment. And Wells said, honestly, same.
Yeah, that would have been interesting. Because if you remember, Wells and Danielle actually do have a history together. That on Paradise, she was really into Wells, then she left, and he kissed her. So I mean, they've been close ever since, and he's been rooting for her. So it seems like he was playing a little matchmaker.
That also would have like broken the wall a little bit to be like, this is why we're sending Danielle down now. Wells is stepping in, and he's saying Danielle is on this beach. She might show up next week when they're supposed to show up next week, but I'm going to send her in now because I think her Michael would be great. That's breaking the wall a bit, but it's also just like admitting what you're doing versus like the convenience of, oh, look, Danielle is here. Magic, beautiful, pretty. Like, and she's great, but it also sets her up. It's like almost like for the audience to be like, what the hell? Like, of course it's happening. If we know if they're just honest and a little more transparent, I think people would harp less on what's happening behind the scenes because they're telling us, and just enjoy the love story.
I totally agree with you. So frustrating. Who's on the podcast this week?
You'll hear the rest of my interview with Ashley and Jared and a little bit more from me about what's happening on this program.
All right, well, definitely check it out. Sarah, thank you so much. As always, guys, keep commenting, keep subscribing, and we will see you next week on Here for the Right Reasons. Bye.
Bye.
For more news, content, and exclusive interviews, make sure to hit the sub, like, and bell button down below and visit usmagazine.com.